Fair today, foul tomorrow. When the snow will arrive and how much of it you can expect.
It's really sad that it's come to this.
Open elections, yes. Open carry, no.
We have received a lot of emails saying that we're committing treason and it's punishable by death.
Colorado Democrats say polling sites are no place for firearms.
Plus, a former Aurora police officer sentenced to time in jail.
And Marshall fire victims get all the assistance without any of the questions.
Our mission is to help people regardless of their situation and without discrimination.
Good evening. Glad you're with us tonight. I'm Shannon Ogden.
Good evening. I'm Ann Trujillo. Tracking your weekly winter storm warning. The system arriving tomorrow should bring up to 6 inches of snow to the Front Range and a bit more to the foothills and high country.
Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson's tracking when it will get here and when it will leave. Mike?
Another quick hitter coming our way. The temperatures are still mild right now after highs in the upper 50s to low 60s this afternoon. We're still in the 40s and 50s, but by this time tomorrow it'll be 20 degrees colder. Just high clouds over the state at the moment, but we have plenty of advisories that are in effect. Winter storm watch along the Front Range, winter weather advisory down to the south along the Sangre de Cristos and the Wet Mountains. Fire weather warning will end here just in a few minutes over southeastern Colorado for today. Here's the watch area for tomorrow. Most of the I-25 corridor likely will switch over to a winter weather advisory for the Denver area as this cold front comes in and brings us a sharp change in temperature and a good round of snow, but not for tonight or tomorrow morning. The roads will stay dry. Snow develops early afternoon tomorrow. It'll be very slick tomorrow night and early on Thursday, along with much colder temperatures. I'll pinpoint how much snow to expect in your neighborhood in about 15 minutes.
And really, don't feel like you have to wait on us for weather information. The stream and radar are going 24/7, and you'll find it on thedenverchannel.com and the Denver 7 app. Colorado is one step closer to banning the open carry of guns near polling sites.
And the bill is not without precedent and not without cause. Our Secretary of State regularly receives death threats, and it was only a year ago that our country's capital was raided.
Still, any attempt to curb how and where someone can carry a gun will be met with pushback and debate. Denver 7 political reporter Megan Lopez found plenty of that today at the Capitol.
Both men were on both sides. They set up camera.
It's not something Arapahoe County Clerk and Recorder Joan Lopez is likely to forget anytime soon.
A gentleman in a tactical vest, a camera, and open carrying.
On the eve of the 2020 election at this ballot box on Prince Street, right as people were dropping off their votes, two men showed up.
One set up a camera here on one side and the other side, and they continued to film voters.
The men walked up to the front of the building and just stood there. The police were called, they spoke to the men, but here's the thing.
They weren't breaking any electioneering laws.
Right now, Colorado law says you're not allowed to electioneer a campaign within 100 feet of a ballot box, but it doesn't say anything really when it comes to carrying a firearm around these ballot boxes, particularly when people are dropping their votes off. A handful of jurisdictions have taken it upon themselves to come up with their own rules, but for the most part, most counties follow state law.
What we saw in the 2020 elections just put a spotlight on how sensitive voting has become, and that's unfortunate.
That's why Representative Jennifer Bacon and a group of Democratic lawmakers have proposed a bill to ban open carry around ballot boxes and polling places.
We want to reinforce the notion of how sacred it is to be able to vote, how important it is that people feel safe.
I think that is a very valid argument.
House Bill 1086, otherwise known as the Vote Without Fear Act, is not without opposition.
I don't like to be in gun-free zones.
Representative Patrick Neville was at Columbine in 1999 and lost classmates. He says this bill could have the opposite effect on some voters.
This is going to make guys like me fearful, and that might be what they're attempting to do, is to suppress conservatives from actually turning out to vote.
The bill passed its first committee hearing on Monday along party lines. As for Arapahoe County, with or without the bill, they're taking action.
It was passed where open carry is not allowed in our buildings any longer.
A big change before the 2022 midterm elections. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
And let's put this in context. As of last year, only 6 states prohibited guns at polling places. And you might be surprised to learn which states those are. California, you might have guessed, but would you have picked Georgia, Louisiana, Arizona, Florida, and Texas? According to the Boston Globe, Mississippi, Missouri, Nebraska, and South Carolina do not allow concealed firearms, but do allow open carry. We didn't see any of that coming either.
Well, yesterday we told you about a bill that would protect code enforcement workers from having their personal information shared online. Now, the law already covers healthcare workers, and today a sponsor told us it's unfortunate that it needed to expand.
What we heard in committee, I think, is indicative of what's happening across our state, where oftentimes code enforcement officers are simply doing their job, but as a result of that, they experience threats, intimidation, harassment from folks, not just directed at themselves, but also at their families.
The bill's already cleared the House. It is expected to pass easily through the Senate. And the threat that forced Monday's Cherry Creek School Board meeting online was deemed unsubstantiated. Greenwood Village police say it was not connected to the threat at Jeffco last week. The schools operated today without interruption.
Deputies in Clear Creek County continue to search for this missing woman. She's been missing since Sunday. The sheriff's office says Melinda Tafoya del Toro called 911, said she was stuck in the snow. Well, deputies found her car, but not Tafoya del Toro. Anyone with information should please call police. A retired Aurora police sergeant who helped cover up a series of pipe bombings has been sentenced to 90 days in jail. Those bombs were dropped in the roadways of Aurora neighborhoods in late 2020 and early 2021. 3 homes were damaged, though thankfully no one was hurt. And the person responsible for those bombings was found to live in the basement of and have been aided by Curtis Christensen. Christensen also bought an AR-15 that he then gave to that suspect, despite knowing he was a convicted felon. He left Aurora PD in 2006.
As expected, Governor Polis announced today he is running for re-election. A businesswoman and CU Regent Heidi Ganal is thought to be Polis's most serious challenger. A recent poll by Global Strategy Group found that while national Democrats have wavered in popularity over the last year, support for Governor Polis has remained strong and steadfast.
The Douglas County School Board will explain their hiring process and timeline for appointing a new superintendent tomorrow. Unlike the meeting where they fired previous superintendent Corey Wise, this one is expected to have public comment. That is scheduled for 5 o'clock. The official conversation on the superintendent is scheduled to begin at 7.
The effort to rebuild from the Marshall Fire will take another step forward tonight as Louisville considers removing roadblocks over setbacks. Councilmember Kyle Brown told Denver 7 the clock's ticking to make decisions and get construction underway.
This is an urgent problem, and people are already having to make decisions about whether they can stay or whether they need to find another place. We want to keep them in Louisville.
And down the road, Louisville will address energy efficiency requirements as they relate to rebuilding. Expect much more controversy when that hits the agenda. And restoring Louisville and Superior to its old self is going to take a lot of buy-in.
Because the more people buy in, the more people can give away for free. Here is Denver 7's Veronica Acosta.
Chips, cereal, bottled water. A few of the items you'll find inside of the Sister Carmen Community Center's food bank. But it's the people this place helps that matter most.
Our number one thing is that we put people first.
And over the past month, the priority has been helping Marshall Fire victims, many of the same people this organization has helped for years.
Typically, we serve Superior, Louisville, Lafayette, and Erie. So pretty much 100% of the fire and those affected have been in our service area.
Getting them everything from food off these shelves.
Through our food bank, we're able to provide food, obviously, but also hygiene items, baby items like diapers, formula, that sort of thing.
To clothes, a roof over their heads, even if it's just a temporary one.
We've also been helping people with getting into hotels. I think we've helped over 70, if not 80 families now.
But what's proven to be the most helpful, gift cards to use when victims need them most.
We've distributed over $250,000 in gift cards.
A big part of Sister Carmen's mission with fire recovery has been helping all victims, including those who may not have the same kind of access to help as others.
People who are undocumented, for example, don't have access to the same resources as people who have a social security number. So we're able to provide that assistance even if families are undocumented because, as I said, our mission is to help people regardless of their situation and without discrimination. We have to help them a little differently.
Help them and the hundreds of others impacted.
It feels really awesome to be able to help them in a situation just because they're people.
Giving them a bit more light at the end of the tunnel. In Lafayette, I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
Today, Boulder County expanded financial assistance to homes that experienced smoke or ash damage. $2,500 is available to households of 1 to 2 people, $5,000 available for larger families, and applications can be submitted through Boulder County's website.
The Central Business District has a new name and a new voice. We'll explain.
We're vested in downtown. We love it.
Plus, Frozen Dead Guy Days makes a comeback and Mike Tyson pays Aurora a visit.
We're mild today, but snow on the way for Wednesday. Winter storm watch in effect.